Okay, hello everybody, this is me, Slippers, in a completely new game. This time it is going to be StarCraft 2. This is a game which, multiplayer-wise, I have very little experience with, so... Oh, hang on, let me just adjust the mic a bit. There we go, that should be a bit better. Yeah, so I've basically barely played this game, competitively, in terms of ranked. So, I've gone through my placement matches, I'm in silver, that seems completely fair, given that I am an absolute noob. Here I am playing Zerg in the blue corner in the right, and in the red corner we've got Dez as the Terran player. So basically this series is just going to be about... It's not really for entertainment purposes, it might be entertaining, I don't know, but I'm just going to try and improve as a player, as this game is pretty huge in terms of the sheer number of mechanics and game systems you have to learn to get properly good at it. So I figured this would be a pretty good way to get better and make some content for the channel. So this is the first game. I'll probably be looking at 2 games per video here, just so they're not hideously long. So here, he basically puts a refinery on one of my gas at about the right time actually, because around 18 supply you do want to be going for a gas, so I go in this one instead. He doesn't cancel it, which is a little odd, but I guess... Oh no wait, I destroyed his SCV, so that's why. Yeah, so basically he's just messing with me a bit. I'm droning up, and yeah, that's basically the game so far. Hatchery on 18, it's supposed to be around 17, but I got delayed a bit, and my multitasking is still not quite there yet in this game. So I've got gas, I've got second hatchery on my natural expansion, I believe this is called. And I will soon be going for Queen on both bases into just droning up. That's pretty much my game plan so far. So here he's gone both gas, very heavy into both. So from what little I know of StarCraft, that kind of means that he will be going aggressively into either upgrades or units. Presumably factory units, as they're more gas heavy in construction, I believe. I might be completely wrong. Again, completely new to the game here. Ooh, that's cool. That's quite cool. Got a little antennae. So yeah, I'm trying to scout. This is one of my weaknesses in my gameplay from what I've seen from my placement matches. My scouting doesn't really result in anything changed in my gameplay. So I might send an overlord over their base, but whilst I will look at what I've scouted, I won't like process it and think, okay, what does that mean he's doing? Which is a definite weakness in my gameplay. So here I tried to like find what I could with this. I notice he's making barracks, which kind of sends alarm bells ringing in my head, and so I send my overlord back in just to scout a bit further. And here's a third barracks, so this is where you really start panicking, and pretty soon you will see some zerglings come out. Is that one? Nope, that's not one. Are these ones? Nope, nope, they're not. Well, at some point I will panic, I'll promise you that. So I'm going into both of these gas, because I'm going to be making banelings, and they require some gas. This build is probably quite bad. I've researched a basic build, which is... and just looked at it quickly. 17 supply, go hatchery, 18 go gas and pool, and then at some point go evo chamber, 19 overlord, and 20 supply, 2 queens, 2 to 4 lings for scouting purposes, and ling speed. That seems to be a pretty standard opening in Legacy of the Void. I didn't really play Heart of the Swarm enough to know what the standard opening in that was, so yeah, I don't have to forget any bad old habits, but that's probably going to help me. So here you go, I'm trying to keep up with kind of general Zerg macro, like trying to get the injects onto my bases. I'm getting better at that, but I'm pretty sure I missed like 20 seconds in between each inject, which over the course of a game probably is quite bad in terms of optimization. So here you've got, I'm just going with melee upgrades because I anticipate fighting soon, since I saw so many barracks. And I'm also upgrading my banelings with baneling speed, or the equivalent of. So yeah, and you will see at some point we go for carapace, so that buffs both my banelings and my zerglings. That seems pretty reasonable. Again, I'm not sure. And I also get a second queen on my expansion. So I've got 3 queens, but only 2 bases. This is something I've heard people talk about, where if you feel really under pressure, you just make another queen. Hell, make another 2 queens, because they're really strong units in the early game. And they can kill, like, you know, 3 marines, or 3 lings, 4 lings, 5 lings, by themselves. And with this 3rd queen, you can just focus a little bit with its energy on expanding your creep. Which, again, for scouting purposes, is pretty sick. So, that's another weakness of my gameplay. My creep spread is pretty bad, just because my multitasking is still kind of being brushed up, since I'm so new. So, yeah, I think having a 3rd queen dedicated to creep spread is pretty cool. So here you go, just spreading the creep. This way we've got, like, once it reaches out to around here, we'll have like 5 seconds warning if he attacks, which is pretty cool. We've also got an overlord, so that's very safe. So here you can see he's going very heavily into his marines. He's got like a fairly sizable squad, but I guess, I don't know, for 3 barracks worth that doesn't seem that many, but I guess he was expanding behind this, so maybe he expected me to go for some kind of baneling bust or just circling harass. I'm not sure. Okay, this bit's pretty bad. So I lose both overlords, get supply capped, supply blocked I think it's called. And that's pretty bad. That's another weakness of my gameplay. My micro of my overlords often is so bad that it often leads to like at least 5 unnecessary overlord deaths, I would say, over the course of a game. So here you can see I've also got way too much minerals unspent. To be fair, he's got quite a lot of gas unspent, but I feel like I could probably just make another hatchery here, which I don't do. I think I stick to like 3 bases for most of the game. But yeah, with this much minerals, I could have easily made like a 4th hatchery up here. Quite easily, or just even here, perhaps. That's a bit more risky than that one. And I don't think I would have been punished too much by it. So here, trying desperately to avoid being supply blocked, that's pretty cool. My queens, once again, this is what I'm talking about, I forget to inject. So what was that, 10, 15 seconds without an inject there? Not the best, but I think over time I will get better at that. I read some forums, and like a lot of Zerg players said that the more you play, the more like your head kind of reminds you to inject at the right time. So yeah, I guess that's just experience kind of coming in there, or my lack of. And here my creep spread. This is one of my better creep spread games, to be honest. Like usually I just forget about it completely, but because I was so scared in the early game by all the barracks that I saw, I kind of made a 3rd queen, and then the few creep tumors I made from that kind of just exploded out. And that's pretty cool. I might start making 3 queens just as a matter of course. So yeah, here I'm just going to send some Zerglings out to scout his various potential bases to see how greedy he's going. So obviously I don't see much there because it's going up a ramp, but poor little Zergling. But clearly he has a bunch of marines, and here I get to see that he's got a massive army, and I'm pretty sure he realizes and attacks with it pretty soon. I might be wrong though. I did play this last night. Was it last night? Oh god, I can't even remember. But yeah, basically I'm just sending the Zerglings out to see what I can see, and what I see is pretty terrifying, I've got to be honest. So he's going for a bio build. He's got upgrades +1/+1. So that's kind of cool. Honestly though, I'm not too sure what to make of this build. It seems like a fairly safe, just 2 base expand kind of playing safely kind of build. I don't know Terran too well, so yeah, this is pretty interesting. Just learning the races is another aspect of being new to this game that I'm quite enjoying. So here I've got a 3rd queen, but because it's not microed up, I completely forget. So here we go, injects, 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 fantastic. I actually remembered to do it. I go for Hydra base just because I quite like Roach Hydra with a few Zerglings. I've completely forgotten about the whole prospect of making Banelings because, you know, it's clear he's not going to be attacking anytime soon, so yeah. And given all the Marines I saw, I think I just decided to play safe in case he went for like a drop play in my mineral line, so I make a couple of Spore Crawlers. That seems like a fine play. I probably should have made a couple here to be consistent. So this scan is pretty interesting. So if we go back a little bit here, we can see that the scan that he did only hits part of my army. And I think this leads to his death, which, spoiler alert, happens very quickly, as I don't think he expected me to have like half of like all this lot. He saw all that lot for sure, but this lot he did not see, I'm pretty sure. So I remember this moment in my head. I was kind of thinking, well, he clearly saw some of my army, but will he be playing really panicked, or will he still be going like hard base building macro style? And to be fair to him, this is a pretty big force. He's kind of forgotten about upgrades a little bit, and he's got tons of gas, so it looks like he's focusing more on making buildings and stuff. What's he going for? Lots of siege tanks. Interesting. So here I kind of make some more units, and at some point I promise you I do attack. So let's just increase the speed. Not much else happens this game, to be honest. I play defensively just in case he moves in whilst my army is away. But yeah, I make some more Ravagers just to increase the flexibility of this army in terms of long range combat, and then I just move in and pretty much finish the game there. So here we go, creep spread. I finally get some tumors up on the high ground, which is pretty cool. I've got great vision now. Yeah, and basically everyone dies, and we're in good shape. So that's pretty much the first game. In terms of what I did well, I think I reacted well to my scouting, and I think my scouting improved in this game compared to what I've seen in my previous games. So let's go back to the other replay. Yeah, I think my scouting was better in this game, and my response to his many Marines was, I think, appropriate. But in terms of what I did badly, I could have spent my minerals way better. I think I could have made at least a 4th hatchery, maybe even a 5th. And I also could have tested his army a bit sooner. Like, if you noticed in that game, I was hanging back with my army for like 3 minutes without it doing anything. I should have at least scouted a bit further. Just sent a couple of roaches onto the high ground, seen what opposition I could have faced. And yeah. So that last game I could have been a bit more aggressive, but I'm quite happy with that. Definitely starting on a high note. So in this game we're playing against TLRDS Bell's War as the Terran player. And warning, this game is really fucking weird. This is probably the weirdest game I've played on ladder so far, and I hope I play more of them because it's pretty hilarious. So let's just increase the speed. This is pretty standard stuff. It's a similar build to what I went for last game. Droning hard in the other game, going for a pretty quick expansion on the gold because that's just the map that this is. Yeah, spawning pool around 18, that seems pretty standard. Going for gas as well. And from what I've seen, he's able to go for gas before spawning pool, as that way the timing on your Zerg's speed is better. And here, already a criticism of my players that I didn't transfer drones to gas as soon as I could have done. As the sooner you get the gas and the sooner you start mining it, the easier your build transitions into Zerg speed, and then from there, however you want to play the game, right? So, yeah, that's a criticism that I can see already. But, meanwhile, whilst I'm just macroing, getting queens, getting drones, oh dear, what? What even is this? Is this a build? Is this a build? I don't know. I have no idea. It seems like some cheap-ass form of cheese, but as you will see, it almost works this game, and that's kind of scary. So here I'm still completely oblivious. I've scouted his base a little bit. So if we look at whose vision? My vision. Yes, what have I scouted? I've got 2 gas, so clearly he's building stuff that requires some kind of tech, and I've also scouted these 2. So here, my overlord, completely by chance, notices a marine, goes a bit further in and gets horrifically murdered. And that's when I just completely lose my mind, because I'm like, oh god, this is not gonna go well. I've literally been droning this entire time with so few Zerglings. Fortunately, he delays by a minute, I'd say, and that proves pretty fatal as I do manage to get my Zerglings built in time. And upgrade-wise, I'm pretty far ahead, so I just send a Roach and some Zerglings over there. He lifts up, and this becomes super annoying because I don't want to move my queens off of my bases for macro kind of purposes. And oh my god, you see the devastation he pulled though. Fair play to him, he like wiped out my mineral line. Pretty brutal. So yeah, he takes damage and then just re-lands his bloody barracks over here again. Rebuilds his things. My roaches miss them somehow. I don't even know. And I should have realised that that SCV was going somewhere. So I scout into his base. I actually do a fair bit of damage with just these 2 roaches, as I'm literally just like plinking away at things here. And for some reason he's got a planetary fortress. I am fairly sure that's not meant to be a thing, but whatever. So yeah, he's got some bases, that's fine. So here we go. My roaches do some decent damage, but meanwhile I'm like, okay, those barracks have gone somewhere, clearly. The 3rd one, which is like critically damaged, died, fortunately for me. Again, by accident, my roach just like realizes the truth of the horror that I'm about to face. He like ambushes my poor defenseless drones, and that sucks. So I move them up here, that seems fine, I think I'm happy with that. This game though, Jesus. So here we go, I've learnt from my mistakes, made a spine crawler, got my queen and roaches to defend. Damn. Why don't we get these units? We could absorb that unit into our Zerg army, surely. Okay, so yeah, I'm just upgrading my roaches. That seems pretty fine. Doing that. Here we go, I send like a cluster of roaches down here, but again he just lifts off. So at this point I'm just like, okay, this is just stupid. I make a Hydra Den at some point pretty soon. Let's just speed it up a little bit. Here we go, Hydra Den is coming down. I'm trying to rebuild my drones. He just keeps harassing my drones, basically, is the moral of this story. I send some units down here just to annoy him and distract him. And that seems to be pretty decent, like it does some damage, kills some SCVs, forces him to build some tanks at home. Has to rebuild a refinery, so that's pretty cool. And here I'm upgrading, let's slow down a bit. Upgrading my Hydras. Yep. As far as I'm aware, getting Hydra speed and this upgrade in general is just huge. Like it does so much. You get that +1 range and the speed, so yeah. That every time you get Hydras, I think just get that straight up. And at this point I just destroy all his barracks, and the writing is kind of on the wall at this point. He's basically committed to this cheese enough so that his expansions have been very low-key. And yeah, like his economy is just clearly not as strong as mine. Or at the very least, his economy has been hit harder than mine. Despite his cheese doing a lot of damage to my drones, but regardless, I finally managed to build a reasonably sized army and just go straight into his base. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of that. In terms of how I responded to his cheese, and this is a pretty important skill I'm quickly realizing on ladder, knowing how to respond and in what severity to respond to like a cheesy strat is pretty important in terms of surviving. So I would rate my response to that kind of cheesy strat as being pretty reasonable. I kind of just continued with my game plan of going Roach Hydra. The Hydra Den could have been placed much sooner, I think. But in my defense, I was pretty paranoid about just like more Marines going on a drive-by by my very exposed drone field. Or mineral field, whatever you want to call it. So I think that was okay. My response to the cheese was fine. My macro, I'm quite happy with. I think staying on 2 bases versus a cheesy strat is probably safest. I only made this when I felt safe enough to expand. And when I felt safe enough to expand was pretty much when my Hydras kind of waltzed right in and dealt with that very easily. So, yeah. What I did badly, though, on this game, I think I could have responded a bit quicker. And I think I could have played a bit more defensively. I could have made like another couple of spore crawlers or spine crawlers or whatever. Yeah, spine crawlers, and that might have saved me. Like if I just made like 2 or 3 right here, whenever his Marines came up to attack these drones, they would have taken a ton of damage. And similar to the last game where I took some, well, I feared some early aggression, so I made a 3rd queen. I think I could have made a 3rd queen, and that would have paid off with quite a lot of dividends. So, yeah, that's sort of this first episode. It's literally just going to be me reviewing a couple of StarCraft games and trying to get better at the game. I'm really enjoying it so far. Ladder has been pretty hilarious from what I've experienced of it, and I do hope to get better. So if you like StarCraft and you're watching this, fantastic. Don't particularly expect this to get many views, but you know what, that's fine. I'm having fun with it. It's a pretty great game to get into in terms of its complexity, so yeah. Expect more of these Starter Starcraft episodes. I think I'm going to call it that. That seems like a decent name. Pretty accurate in terms of its description. So yeah, see you in the next Starter Starcraft episode, and have a good one. Ta-ta!